Hi, I'm Toby.
And I'm Nick.
And welcome to the Pure Property Podcast with Track Capital, where we talk about all things property and property investment. The aim of the podcast is to give you bite-sized chunks of our industry insight and knowledge to help investors invest intelligently. And this week we've got an exciting episode, and this is another in our series of Meet the Developer. So this week we have Dan from DeTrafford on the podcast, and DeTrafford is a developer that is building sustainable and innovative contemporary living spaces in the UK's most exciting city, and that is Manchester.
Okay, good stuff. So, what we're going to look at today then is a bit about Dan himself, personally, his background, how DeTrafford operates and their general business model, what sort of projects they don't like, what are their plans for their future, so their vision, and also, how things are going in the current market. We know it's very, very busy at the moment, so it'd be good to get Dan and DeTrafford's insight into how they're operating. And then also another a big factor is how they might be a bit different from other developers out there. And we all know there's plenty out there, some better than others. So it should be really exciting for our listeners to hear about DeTrafford and what their plans are going forward.
Yeah, definitely. So first of all, welcome, Dan. How are you? How you been?
I'm really well. Thank you for having me on.
No, it's a pleasure. We're excited to have you on. As I said, it's the second developer in this sort of series that we're looking to do. And it's quite interesting, actually. The last developer that we had on, their main focus was Birmingham, for example. They deal elsewhere, but mainly had a foothold in Birmingham. And it's quite good that DeTrafford this time, their sort of main focus is Manchester. So that's going to be really good to have sort of contrast and have a difference. So, Dan, why don't you tell us a bit about your background and your role at DeTrafford?
Okay, yeah, no problem. Again, thanks for having me on, guys. There's some really, really good points that we can run through today. My background really consists of the estate agency side of the business, as well as investments across off-plan projects within our portfolio. And in terms of where I have been placed over the last 10 to 15 years, it's predominantly across the UK, internationally as well, overseas in the UAE, and as well as dealing with multiple clients, businesses across Southeast Asia as well. So I have been with DeTrafford for the last 3 years, and we work very closely with our team, our project management team, as well as the wider sales team. I know that Nick, Toby, you mentioned at the start that we are a sustainable developer as well. So we very much look at how we can better our sustainability strategy across all of our projects. My role here is to head up the sales side of the business, as well as the business development. So there's two aspects to my role, really: to expand the network that I work with, and also to manage the wider sales team, and really just to ensure that the sales numbers are exactly where they need to be across the schemes on a weekly and monthly basis.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, it's a great introduction, and obviously good to know you've been working in the property market for a while, got exposure to lots of different geographical markets, or had exposure. So I'm sure that's helpful given our general client basis from all around the world. Okay, perfect. So moving on to actually DeTrafford as a business then. Obviously, as you know, we predominantly work with different developers in different regions across the UK. So often we're describing to our investors, how one developer operates, what's good about them, why that might be more advantageous to partner with them on a specific project, etc., etc. So do you mind just giving us a brief overview of DeTrafford in terms of how they may compare to other developers on the market, or if there's anything you think that's particularly unique about DeTrafford?
Yeah, of course. And this is quite an exciting point for me, because what we are doing as a business, and the projects that we are creating are very different or we believe anyway, to our competitors within the marketplace, and each of our projects has their own story as well. So I think the big thing for us is that we are creating a community within one particular area of Manchester, which is the Castlefield area. And this particular area consists of a 7-phase master scheme. Now, we have already completed on phase 2 of the master scheme, phase 3 and 4, which will complete between now and the end of summer 2021, with phases 5, 6, and 7 to follow. And actually, phase 5 is under construction as we speak, which is the demolition has now finished with the site clearance. So it's important to note that we are building a community, and we're giving back to the residents, and we really want to bring them together. And that's the concept that we are creating as a developer. In terms of why we believe, I suppose, again, just to elaborate a little bit more on why we feel we are different to our competitors, is that we have a design team that travels to different parts of Europe, and picks out certain materials and certain. So we have a design team that picks out certain materials, and they look at different ways that we can be even more sustainable within the projects that we are creating, which again is a really good USP for us. Yeah, so that's really just a bit as to why we believe, or why I believe, that we are quite different to the rest.
Yeah, perfect. I mean, and that's one of the reasons why we like obviously working with DeTrafford, because some developers can be a bit more just about the bottom line, how much can they squeeze out of a scheme, etc., etc. So to hear that developers, go into those extra lengths to source those specific materials, get inspiration from other potential countries, etc., really makes a difference. And now with people being a bit more ethical about their investment, it's certainly coming on the top of people's agenda, so to speak.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. Again, DeTrafford is, from my point of view, when talking to clients, I like it because it is different just to your normal run of the mill buy-to-let investments in and around Manchester. I mean, one of the words that I like to use quite often is it's perceived as more of a premium. You do definitely get good finishings, the attention to detail, the look, the style, the spec, everything like that. For me, in terms of not only a property but as an investment, it is definitely up there with one of the top ones that we deal with. So I'm always confident when pitching that to an investor, and also the track record and the developments that DeTrafford have done previously. It also has a great sense of confidence with it when sort of talking to an investor and introducing them to them, which I think is excellent. And I think another question that I'd like to ask would be, in terms of DeTrafford and this year, how are things going in terms of the market? And is there sort of an exciting project that you currently have focus on at the moment?
So from our side, in terms of where things are going this year, again, it is an exciting year for us, because I think I'd mentioned at the start of this conversation that St George's Gardens, one of our projects, phase 2 of our 7-phase master scheme, has completed, which is really, really fantastic news for us, and it's quite satisfying to see that project is now almost sold out. And the quality, the design, the materials are very similar to the likes of number 1 Castlefield as well. So with the upcoming projects, which will be City Gardens and Sky Gardens next in line for completion, it then puts us in a really good position then to start thinking about the upcoming projects, the upcoming off-plan projects that we have in the pipeline that are due to launch. So now we know things are moving along nicely with number 1 Castlefield, and construction going in the right direction, and foundations will be laid by July, August time. We can then start looking at launching the next 1 or 2 projects going into the Q4 into the first quarter of next year. So I can't release too many details at this point, but there will certainly be some further information around the projects that we do have upcoming for later this year.
Perfect. So some exciting stuff happening on the agenda then. And in terms of, say we were winding back a while, I know you've probably been looking at these projects and analysing them, etc., for a number of years now. But if DeTrafford are looking, whether it's forward or based on your existing ones, when they're looking at a potential site and making plans for a project, etc., could you give the listeners a feel of maybe what you would look for from a specific project or a location? What really pushes the buttons for DeTrafford?
I think for us as a developer, location is key, and the location that we focus on is very much an area of land that we can create a master plan on. So we tend not to look at pieces of land that only enables us to build one project. We would rather build anywhere from 3, 4 to 7 projects within one particular area. And it kind of comes back to who we are and what we're about, and why we do differ from the rest, and that we are building communities with the green space and the roof gardens, and we have a concept that we are still working on once our master plan is all finished, which again allows the residents to come as one and enter each other's projects and the amenities within. So land is always something that we are on the lookout for, but it just has to be in the right location within an area that we can build a community on, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. And the one sort of word to pick up on there, which I think is excellent, is community. And again, it's another thing that I like. You look to build a community which, to a purchaser, that shows the longevity and the view that you have in the project. You're not just whacking up one building and then moving on. You are looking at it as a long-term project, building a community. And also from a purchasing point of view, that's something that's very good, because when you do build these communities, people stay longer. When it comes to resale, it makes them sort of more valuable, more favorable when renting a property as well. If they have a community feel, again, tenants are going to want to stay there longer. So I think that's an excellent ethos to have, and yeah, one of the things that I do like about DeTrafford and their developments as well. So talking about sort of community and projects, etc., we know Castlefield is obviously in Manchester, and that is a big focus currently for DeTrafford. So can you tell us a little bit more about the area?
Yeah, of course. And again, the Castlefield area for us, it's very much an area that has been upcoming for many years now. There are quite a few developments situated within or alongside our master scheme within Castlefield, but they're much older developments. So we're very much a developer that has the majority of the new build projects now alongside the canal, which is a big selling point for this particular area. So you've got easy access to the canal. It's very, very close to the local tram station, Cornbrook tram station, which is only a couple of minutes, if not less, from number 1 Castlefield, and a few minutes from where our other projects are in Castlefield. It's easy access to the motorway links as well, to the north and the south, which is very attractive for residents who just want the ease of being able to get up and out and in the car and on the motorway without the traffic that builds up within the inner part of the city. And it's very, very close to the football stadiums as well, Manchester City, Manchester United. I'm definitely not a fan, but it is close by. And local to the universities as well, and again, easy access to the transport hubs and a short walk into the city. So I think the location itself is exactly what people are looking for at the moment, and we've actually found that we have had many purchases across all of our schemes that have lived in the inner parts of the city, where the hustle and bustle of the restaurants and the bars and the students are. But after a while, it just gets a bit too busy, and you can almost achieve a quieter life in Castlefield, but you still have all of the benefits of being able to access the things that you need to access. So that is a really, really big selling point for us is the location linked with the quality of the products that we have, and the story that each of our projects have as well.
Yeah, perfect. And I think an ad kind of related to that point is what we've seen over the past 12 to 18 months, people spending a bit more time at home, whether they're working from home. They might want to see that rooftop space, those better communal areas, those more attractive landscape gardens or rooftop gardens, etc. And I don't think I know you don't get that on every scheme in the city centre. So I'm sure that's a nice bonus for people as well. And we've mentioned, or you've touched on a couple of the projects there. And then you mentioned that there might be a few on the horizon as well. But given where you guys are at the moment and what's potentially available to our investors, do you want to just give us a quick 30 seconds, 1 minute overview of what your portfolio looks like and the type of products there? As I say, you don't have to go into great detail, but it'd be good just to get a very quick fly through of that.
Yeah, of course. So what we have access to at this moment in time, and again, it depends on whether or not it's an owner occupier or an investor looking for an immediate return, or is it an investor that's looking and quite happy and comfortable with the off-plan strategy of the longer term investments to gain capital appreciation and so on. But across the schemes, we have availability in St George's Gardens, albeit there's only a small availability. We have availability in City Gardens, which is due for completion in July of this year. And we have availability in number 1 Castlefield across the 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom plots, and also 3 bedrooms as well with the higher price points. And we have availability in Elizabeth Gardens, which is actually a project outside of the city in an area called Reddish Stockport, which is on the edge of the golf course with views into the city centre. And what we have here are a selection of 3-bedroom townhouses, as well as 3 apartments that we have left in a converted mill. So that's currently what we have access to, albeit again, we have a further 6 schemes that are in the pipeline, with launches to be announced, with availability also to be announced. So there's some really exciting schemes as we move into the end of this year, into early 2022, that provide completion dates from 2024 all the way up to 2028. So we've got a really, really, really strong pipeline at the moment.
Oh, leave us on a cliffhanger there. I thought you were going to start giving us some inside information about where these projects were, but I suppose we'll have to wait for when they're made available, and I'm sure our investors and listeners will find out in due course, and we're looking forward to that. So another question that we like to ask when speaking to sort of people in your position, and this would be good to hear from you as well, because I know you've been in the property industry for a long time. So are there any changes to the property industry and even the market that you think should happen, where maybe DeTrafford are leading the way, or just that you think would benefit the property industry?
So I think from our side that there isn't really any real changes that we require, or that we would like, or anything that we're doing differently to our competitors. We see many articles on a daily, weekly basis of things that are potentially going to be changed, and whether or not that's linked with ground rent issues, cladding issues, and so on. But for us, we're very much a developer that's in line with legislation, in line with the regulator, and actually in some instances we have gone above and beyond with the ground rents. And the reason I say that is because we know that the rental index, the regulator, has provided a 5-year review. But for us, we have actually increased the majority of our schemes to 10 years. And actually, what also sets us aside from our competitors is that the deposits that we can allow for in some cases are in line with the warranty cover that we have in place across our schemes. But a really attractive selling point for our investors is that we do have warranty cover which can go up to 20% across certain schemes as well. And it puts us in a position where we are able to almost protect the deposit over a period of time.
Yes, that's. I mean, that's really positive to hear. And then for us, when we're reviewing what developers to work with, etc., things such as security, i.e., warranty protection, fair charges, when are these charges reviewed, etc., etc. It's all these little things that we look at, and which really separates one developer from another. So it's all right having an amazing product and amazing images, good video, etc., etc. But you need the back end and the structure of the investment to be sound as well. And I do think DeTrafford's got a really good balance of that. So just going back to the market side of things in general, Dan, what would you say is your property price prediction, maybe for the rest of the year and into 2022? I know this is a question that Toby loves to ask everyone and puts them on the spot, as we did at the start of the year. So yeah, it'd be good to get an established developer's insight on what they think is going to happen.
Yeah, and it's a valid point, and it's a point, and it's a question that we're asked on a regular basis, both by investors, existing clients, as well as the wider team. And from our side, we follow we follow many statistics within the Manchester marketplace, as well as the rest of the UK. And Home Track is a big platform that we follow. And as it stands, or as of today, we are tracking at 6.8%, which is up almost 2.4% pre-COVID or pre-lockdown. So we're in a very good position when it comes to the capital appreciation. If it continues on the way it is throughout the rest of the year, then it puts us in a very, very good position to then predict the pricing between the end of 2021 all the way up to 2024, if we have our 3-year predictions in place. So we would like to think, based on the pre-launch prices that we currently have across our off-plan schemes, that we are hopeful of tracking upwards of 20 to 21% over that period. But we're also having to take into account any, I suppose, reduction in appreciation over the next 6 to 12 months. And even if we average out at circa 5% appreciation, then I'd like to think our price points are up 15%, and that's exactly where we believe the Manchester market is going, and the UK for that matter.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. I mean, we've been very sort of optimistic with ours, and just everything we've seen data wise and the way it's been going since the beginning of the year. It looks like we are definitely on point, maybe even to surpass what we had predicted. But it is quite interesting because Nick and I, even at the end of last year, were sort of banging the drum to say, look, don't worry, the market's going to carry on and we think it'll be positive. And a lot of the so-called experts and sort of your RICS surveyors or your Nationwide and your banks, etc., are being very, very negative. And yeah, they were saying it would either just stagnate or even sort of decline. So it is quite interesting to see them eat their words now, because they've definitely changed their tune. But yeah, fingers crossed it does carry on, because obviously it's great for the economy and just obviously the property market in general. But that's great then. So I think just to sort of sum up the episode, it'd be great just to get in a few sentences how you would sort of summarise DeTrafford and why its properties would make a great investment for our listeners.
Perfect. Okay, cool. Well, I think the answer to that from us is that we are a unique developer. We are creating communities within an area of Manchester city centre. We do have access to multiple off-plan schemes with fantastic quality and design features across the project. We have an attractive price point as well, based on pound per square foot in comparison to our local competitors. Fantastic deposit structures with the warranty cover, as mentioned earlier on, which is always important for many. and we're in a position to be able to diversify across projects that are ready now for an immediate return and projects that are ready in a few years' time, which not only gains the capital appreciation, but also allows that particular investor to also look at further opportunities of properties that are further away from the completion dates that are set across the schemes. So in summary, I would say that that's a quick overview of who we are.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, the only thing I think we haven't really touched on, I think it's worth mentioning very briefly, is that I think there is an angle of exclusivity and less market exposure on DeTrafford stock as well. I mean, as our internal team knows, Toby and Dan, it's not a case or it's not a product or with DeTrafford developments, you can't simply just openly advertise them. You don't see every other agent with these products for sale. DeTrafford are very picky about who they use and who their product goes to. So yeah, I think it's worth mentioning that, because sometimes you do see developments which are saturated, and that can cause issues further down the line. So having that little angle of exclusivities, I think, is a really, really great point as well. But yeah, that was really helpful. Any sort of final comments at all, Dan?
No, I think that's everything from my side. Really, it'd be a good opportunity to come on to your podcast again at some point to provide some further progress updates across the schemes, and hopefully when we do then get some further launches, then we can do that together, and go from there.
Absolutely. Sounds good. So just for our listeners then, obviously, if you're interested in reviewing any of DeTrafford's products, and we highly, highly encourage you to, they've got fantastic marketing material. So great computer generated images, virtual tours, videos of complete developments, etc. So you can really get a good look and feel of the product. Obviously, we can contact Dan as well, and we can get you face to face with DeTrafford, have a look at some of their completed schemes, and really get a feel for the company that you're potentially partnering with. So yeah, reach out to Track Capital for that. So info@trackcapital.co.uk. Alternatively, you can Google and go and type in DeTrafford on search engine and go from there. And yeah, you should get a good feel of what they're all about.
Excellent. Well, thanks for joining us, Dan. Yeah, really appreciate that.
Thank you very much, guys. Really nice to speak to you both.
Cheers, guys. See you later.
Take care.